Hey, my name is Sarah. I am the creator at Commonplace, and this is my first commission of a custom resin chess set. So we're going to start with just pouring resin. So I use epoxy resin. This particular brand I got off Amazon. It's a 2-part resin. So right now I'm pouring 1 part. And then there's the second. So now we're going to mix the 2 parts together. So you mix the resin with the hardener, so that way your resin will eventually become a hard plastic. So both are poured in, and now we're going to stir. So I'm just scraping to make sure I get all of the resin off of the popsicle stick. I sped this part up. It's just me moving the molds over closer to myself. And so I use separate cups for each color, type of color I'm using for each mold. So these are the pawns. And so I did the pawns all the same, but I do different cups for the different colors I'm mixing. So this particular chess set, the customer who ordered it wanted a silver and gold theme. So right now I just added the mica powder, gold mica powder to the cup. And now I'm just adding a little bit of glitter. Well, a lot of glitter, honestly. And now we're going to pour the resin in. I don't think there's a particular way you're supposed to add the additives to the resin, so sometimes you'll see me add the resin to the additives, and sometimes you'll see me add the additives to the resin. And of course we have to stir that in to make sure it's all mixed properly. So this does take a minute. So this particular video, when I initially filmed it, actually took over an hour and a half. So this is cut down significantly from how long it actually took to do this. So now we're going to pour. And this part is also sped up. Now all the pawns have been poured, and so we're moving on to the next pieces. So yeah, these particular pieces contain floral elements. So I got these off of Amazon. They're pressed and dried flowers. They were very good quality actually, and I would highly recommend if you're looking for that kind of thing for your projects to go on Amazon. They're not cheap, but they are very nice. So right now we're working on the knights. So I'm just using a set of tweezers and gently placing flowers to the bottom of the mold so that the flower will be at the top. So remember, the molds are upside down. So this way the flower will be in the head of the knight. Again, I'm pouring a portion of resin. So as I mentioned before, this time instead of putting the additives first and then pouring the resin, I'm pouring the resin first and then doing the additives. And so for these particular pieces, I did the liquid resin colorant. So as you can see, and that particular color is golden yellow. And I do 2 drops. And now I sped up this portion since I didn't want you to have to watch me stir again. But yeah, so I add the glitter to it, 2 drops of liquid resin colorant, and then I stir it together. Now we're going to pour. So those pieces are done. And now we're going to move on to, I believe these are the rooks, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, those are the rooks. Okay. And so again, I'm adding just a little flour to the top, or I guess bottom of the mold, so it will be at the top of the piece. And so now we're pouring another portion of resin. And for these particular pieces, I wanted them a slightly more opaque color, so I added 3 drops of colorant instead of 2 to these. So you see, 1. Well, excuse me, I wanted these lighter. So I only added 1 drop. So these pieces have the same additives as the knights, but they are slightly different in color because I added a different amount of the colorant. And now I'm just making sure that the mold is completely filled. so I overfilled that particular mold, so I'm just scraping a little bit off the bottom to make sure that it's not too full. Right now we're moving on to the bishops. So we're adding the last of the resin that I mixed up initially. So again, we're adding the colorant. As well as some glitter. And some more floral elements. These particular ones had stems, and so they were a little more difficult to place gently into the mold. And again, we pour. I wanted these particular pieces to be a little more clear, still colored, but not nearly as opaque as some of the other ones, because I wanted the floral elements to be visible, especially in the sunlight. And with the glitter, I thought it would be quite fantastic to see. And now I'm adding another floral element to the bottom. So I tried to add a little contrasting color of flowers to it. So some of them do have more yellow gold flowers, but these particular ones, because they're already colored, I added white flowers. So that way it's more apparent. And so I didn't completely fill the mold, so that when I added the flower, I could then pour a little bit of resin over it just to make sure that it's completely encased in resin. And so another tip is to, when you're using molds with little details like this, is to take each mold and squeeze it a little bit to make sure that the resin is kind of, the air is being sucked out of the mold, so that the resin will flow into those small details, and you don't have any air bubbles. So I'm opening up another package of floral elements, of dried flowers. And fun fact, I did knock over one of them and they spilled, and so I had to redo one of my pieces, hence why you see resin everywhere. But I cut that part out. As you can see, every time I have to add like a little flower or floral element to it, to a piece, I do have to hand place all of them, and it's very delicate work. So I use very tiniest of tweezers and a lot of patience. So for these pieces, the last two pieces, which happen to be the king and queen, I was out of resin of the original batch I made, so I did have to mix up a new batch, which is made just the same, pour part A, pour part B of the epoxy resin. And just remember that you're adding those two parts together, so instead of doing, estimate how much resin you're going to need, then split that in half and pour one part as one half and the other part as the other half, so you don't pour too much and you don't pour too little. Now, I have heard of a trick to estimate the volume of resin that you need by using water, filling a mold and seeing what the volume of it is. I have not used that particular trick. I usually just kind of eyeball it. But if you are concerned with not pouring enough or having too much resin and you don't want to, waste product, absolutely, I would say try that and see if that gives you an accurate volume of how much resin you're going to need for your mold. And so we're mixing and we're stirring again. And remember that you stir the resin when you're mixing the hardener and resin together until it's clear. So it will become cloudy initially as the mixture combines and as the chemical reaction takes place, but it should turn clear within 3 to 5 minutes as you stir. So for these particular pieces, I did not add any colorant, I just added the glitter. So I wanted them to be completely clear other than the glitter, because these are going to be the main pieces with very intricate floral elements on the inside of them, and I wanted that to be as visible as possible. So again, we pour only partially into the mold because we're going to add more flour to the bottom of the mold, and we don't want to overfill it, and we want to make sure that the floral elements are encased entirely in resin. As you can see, I'm using a white flour again, this way that it's more visible and more striking against the resin. Now I'm just making sure that it's completely pressed into the resin. Being careful not to spill this one. Now we're going to do the final pour for this side of the chest set. So chest sets have two sides, and for this particular project I did both sides of the chest set as well as the board. So just make sure to hang around for part 2 of this project where I make the other side of the board. Alright, so we finished. And I'll give you a good view of what the final product looks like right about now. And there we are. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.